Welcome to another Zoom edition of CityTalk as we continue to broadcast remotely, obviously due to the COVID-19 situation. Joining us live from somewhere in his district, an undisclosed location, or maybe he'll disclose it, is longtime Councilman Bruce Kraus. Councilman, welcome to the program.
Hi, John. Thanks for having me. Actually, I'm from home. We're all working from home these days. So yeah, that's where you find me today.
Just from that little bit of background I see, it looks like a very cool place. You know what I mean? With interesting designs and good lighting.
I'm a homebody. I like my house a lot. And I think you might know this, but I had an interior design business for about 25 years before I came to council. So it somewhat reflects in my house, yeah, I would have to say.
That is very interesting, and I must confess I did not know that. How did you make the transition from interior design to politics and government?
So that's a very easy answer, actually. What I did in my business was to create spaces in which people chose to live. And I think that's pretty much what we do in government as well, too. We create spaces in which people choose to live. And we just do it in a very democratic process.
So you were born and raised in the South Side, correct?
In this house.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not. I'm that typical Pittsburgher.
I was going to say, you can't get any more Pittsburgh than that.
You can't get any more Pittsburgh than that. I came home from, well, it's now Carson Towers. It used to be St. Joseph's Hospital, but I came home from the hospital here. My godmother owned a house. She bought it in 1943 for $4,000.
Wow.
And I bought it in 83 for $20,000.
But I bet that's still a steal, considering.
Oh my God, yeah. And I'm the fourth owner of the property. It was built in what we believe to be around the late 1860s, early 1870s. And I'm only the fourth owner of the property. That's just so Pittsburgh.
How about that? Have you ever considered, for whatever reason, moving?
No, I can't. This, living here is as much a part of what identifies me as just about anything else in my life. But most Pittsburghers can say that, can't they? Regardless of where they've chosen to sort of throw the anchor down. It's, where we live is just such an integral component to who we are.
Have you, not to obsess on this, but have you ever done any major remodeling, and how much upkeep is there in a house that's been around that long?
Well, there's a lot of upkeep in any kind of a property that you own. An older house like this, it's pretty structurally sound. They build them to last, So most of the work that I've done really has been cosmetic. It had really good bones, has really good bones, and it's pretty much cosmetic. And I'm a homebody, John. If I'm not at work, I'm pretty much home. It's pretty much what I do. So
Does that mean COVID hasn't been as horrible for you as it has been for most of the rest of us because of your homebodiness?
No. I had a really long talk with a constituent the other day, and I had to confess that being at home is really starting to get to me. We're people. We like to be out. We like to see people and, engage and socialize. And when you serve in an elected office, as long as I have, you go past constituency and you go into friendship. I've known people, for years and years and years, and you can't help but form a friendship. And I miss them. I miss them terribly. So, we do our best to get on Zoom and try to stay connected. But I was talking to a really good friend, old-time constituent, and told her it's really starting to wear on me, this working from home. And she said, well, it's because you're looking at it all wrong. You're not working from home, you're living at work. I was like, wow, that's insightful. But that's what we're all doing right now. We're pretty much living at work.
Do you dare venture out to a coffee shop or anything? And I'm not saying that's good or bad. Some people do little things,
No, I make my appointed rounds. You've got to get out, but I do it sensibly and always am careful. And, if I eat out, which is extremely rare, I'm not big on eating out to begin with. It's with friends that I've known for the longest time, and we're very careful. Everybody wears a mask and we social distance and all that. I'm 66. And so, and most of my friends are around my age as well, too. And, we're all mindful that we are a little more susceptible than maybe the general population is. And, thank God, knock on wood, so far so good. Everything is good. All the loved ones are good. All the friends are good. So we're doing something right.
Awesome. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
What, if anything, can you do to try to not go stir crazy at home? I mean, have you developed a plan of action to attempt to lessen the stir craziness?
Yeah, well, it's just a short drive for me anyway. I'm not, some would argue I'm not wrapped real tight to begin with. So you almost have to be to get into this, into this business. But I am a homebody. I like being home. I don't really have a problem with it. What I really, really miss is my friends. I miss the people. And we do this. I was on a Zoom call this morning with constituents up in Beltshoover and Knoxville. And we almost didn't want to get off the phone. We meet on Monday mornings. We're probably on there for the better part of at least 90 minutes, sometimes 2 hours. And even then, we're getting off because our batteries are running out. We miss one another. We really do.
I bet you do. Are you, you have a number of restaurants and bars and places in your district, as I don't need to tell you. Do you hear from them constantly? Like, come on, please let us open up?
Yeah. And you know what? And we're willing to take the calls and have the conversations. It's not within my power to do so, but we're going to be a voice. We're going to be an ear. We're going to lend an ear and listen and do the very best we can to carry it to the powers that be. There's going to be some relief coming down the road here. I know the governor is going to change some things about the ban on food and beverage businesses. I believe we're going to up the occupancy, but lower the time frame in which you can serve. We'll see. But I'm telling you, John, and I've argued this from the day I walked in the door, how important food and beverage business is to the economy and why I fought so hard to protect food and beverage, make certain that sales and service are responsible and that they don't have negative impact on where they're housed, because they're incredibly important to the economy. And boy, are we learning now just how very important food and beverage business is to the economy. And we're doing everything in our power to fight to save them, and damn well we should.
Yeah, I've become less of a cheapskate. I tend to tip everybody now whenever I go get coffee or food to go, and I didn't always before because I thought it's to go. But now everybody needs every red cent they can get their hands on, obviously.
I do too, and I'm not, to say what I'm tipping these days would be obnoxious. It would be bragging. I wouldn't do that. But I grew up in food and beverage business.
Oh.
My father had one job his entire life, and that was to work for the Isley Dairy Company. That's all my dad ever did. My mother waited tables from like 1964 to just about 2 years or so before she passed. So food and beverage business is in my blood. And so we tend to be a little difficult to wait on because we ask for all kinds of special things that we shouldn't be asking for, but we tip well too, because it's an incredibly difficult way to make a living. It's rewarding, and people that are in the business love it, and it shows that they do. But man, do they work for it. She works hard for the money, and they do. And so it's an incredibly important time. If you are going out and you are doing takeout, or if you're okay and the local restaurant is doing indoor dining, if you can, pass a little bit more than you normally would.
Right. So how is the new world in terms of never meeting in person with council and always being on Zoom?
I hate it. I hate it. I mean, we do what we have to do. Bobby Wilson is new to council.
Right.
And Bobby and I were talking just the other day about his journey to date and just how different his has been from the other 8 members that are on council, because he has not had the luxury of being on the floor. There's a different energy when you're in the building and you're going about the day-to-day business. Bob came in January and we went out in February, and he's been out ever since. So this is a whole new world to him. He's working remotely from the day he came in. But you can't trade the energy that you get from being on the 5th floor, which really is about the most exciting place. You have to admit, in all the city, the 5th floor of the city county building is about as exciting as it gets. And I miss it. I want to walk across the hall. I want to see the mayor if I need to see him. I want to talk to Gilman in person. You know, I miss that. I miss just walking down the hall and having one of your colleagues pull you in and say, do you have time for coffee? I want to talk to you about something. That's how this stuff gets done. It's all, if there's anything I've learned, John, in the 13 or so years that I've been doing this, is that what we're in is a business of relationships. We are able to achieve the goals that we set for ourselves through our ability to form relationships. And that's what it is. It's a people business.
Am I correct that as a group, you guys get along pretty well and maybe better than most historically?
I'd like to think we do. We've worked very, very hard to do that. And don't think for a minute that we don't have our ups and downs and bumps and those things. But when someone comes up to me in the street and says, my God, is council boring these days? I say, thank you. We work at it. You know, everybody's rowing in the same direction. Look, we have a great mayor. There's no secret that I'm a big fan of Mayor Peduto. He's been a friend and a colleague and an ally for, more years than I want to count. Gilman's a wonderful chief of staff. We have great directors in place. We have common goal and common vision. We want to work together. We want to do things right. And no more important time than right here have we ever been faced with a more challenging time here in the city. Budget season's upon us. We're going to be it's going to be budget 24/7 for the next 4 months. And is that a time for people to not be working together or not be, unified in the vision and trying to get us through a rough spot? I say no. It's as important now as it has ever been.
Well, I happen to agree with you about the city's leadership, but as you know, many do not, and it seems like the heat's on. There's sort of more criticism of political leaders than perhaps in a good long time. Would you agree with that, and how do you respond?
Look, it's what we sign up for, and it is a democracy. And I'll get worried the day people stop wanting to talk to me or challenge me or critique me. We are all human. We all have our flaws as well too. But I don't believe the bulk of us get into business if we're not, and I hate to keep using that term, but don't get in elected office for not wanting to do the right thing. I mean, it's in our DNA, I think. And so, yeah, people are going to take shots. Running for an elected office is light years different from sitting in an elected office. I went out there like everybody does and talked about how I want to change things. And when I get there, what do you see what I do? And then you get there and you realize just how challenging and complex and complicated decision-making can be. And like I said earlier, if you don't find your way to building relationships, you won't get anything done. And it's easy to critique, and it's really difficult, can be really difficult to lead.
You were council president for a number of years, and in the fairly recent past, there was an election, and now you're not. Is that do you miss that, or is that a weight off your shoulders that's awesome?
It's both. I miss it terribly because I like, I like looking after people, and I'd like to think I had really good relationships with the members. But at the same time, it's really important to not overstay your welcome and to step aside and make room for new leadership. And so as much as I enjoyed it, and I served as president for 6 years, I knew that to stay any longer, I'd be doing a disservice to the council as a whole. You have to step aside and allow leadership to emerge. And so I did that, and now I'm referred to as an elder statesman.
So you're like Benjamin Franklin.
Or something like that. Yeah, but I do miss it. But I do. I have a real soft spot for leading the body. It was something I enjoyed very much. I believe when we take these jobs, we punch in for 4 hours or 4-year stretches. And some people can do it, and God bless them. But I have a challenging district. I got a lot of stuff going on. And, we start early and we end late, and we always did. And I don't know where I would find the time to really give it what the constituency that was kind enough to put me here deserve if I did something else. So that doesn't mean I wouldn't go back to it when these days are over, but no, there's too much to do.
Fair enough. Well, I could talk with you all day, and I'm probably like you. I don't want to end any of these because I'm lonely.
Is it over?
But
is it over?
I was going to make it over. Is that all right?
Wow, that went fast.
Well, it doesn't have to be. I can ask you a couple more questions.
Sure, go ahead, shoot.
All right. Well, what have you been able to accomplish during COVID? Recent legislation that you think might be considered significant or interesting?
There's no more important topic on the table for discussion than police reform. And so for the last, I want to say, a good 10 to 12 weeks now, I've been meeting with Hilltop constituency every Monday morning at 10 o'clock. And we meet for the better part of 90 minutes, going on 2 hours. And we've had a number of invited guests, much like what you would do here, to help advise us on how we can help to create the police department that everybody wants. Everybody agrees that we have a stellar police department that is worthy of accolades. And like any profession, whether it be broadcasting or politics, we have some bad apples. No, every job does. But we're working really, really hard at how to make the kinds of reforms that keep both constituency safe and police officers safe. So over the last 10, 12 weeks now, we've met with Mayor Peduto, we've met with Beth Bittinger of our Citizens Police Review Board, our Director of Personnel, Janet Manuel, to talk about hiring practices, those kinds of things. Our state representatives, Ed Gainey and Jake Wheatley. This morning we had Senator Costa and Congressman Doyle, and we're approaching it from local, state, and federal, and what changes need to take place on all three levels of government, and how we can be contributors to affecting positive change.
So I assume you're not a defund the police guy, but more of a redirect the resources and maybe get people to handle mental health things that aren't necessarily police officers?
Yes, the one thing that we have heard loud and clear from constituency across the board is this idea of defund the police is a catchphrase that somehow took off and is out there somewhere. No one's looking to do that, least of all this council. At least the members that I'm aware of are not. But are there better ways to do policing? Are there better ways to have better hiring and training practices? And are there better ways to equip police officers with the necessary equipment to do the jobs that they need to do? From the day I walked in the door, I have argued that when we fail to plan and manage as administrators and things turn to, I can't say that word, we hand it off to police officers and say, can you fix this? I'm sorry, my battery's gone down. And so when we fail as planners, managers, administrators, and things don't go the way we think they should, then we just hand it over to police officers and say, oh, fix this because we didn't do our job right. Those days are over, they're gone. Again, just hearkening back to what we were saying earlier, it's the cooperation, it's the working together and the building of relationships. This idea of disbanding police departments and, unseating the mayor, and no one is even, going down that road. We have a lot of work to do. God knows we've had our good times and our bad times, no question about it. But what I found to be so very inspiring from African-American leadership in Hilltop's neighborhoods is the kind of commitment that they have to making the changes that need to take place and to creating an department that truly protects and serves and doesn't police. And over the weeks of conversation, boy, have I learned the difference between policing a constituency and protecting and serving a constituency. And that's what we're looking to do. So that's one of many things that we have.
Well, good luck. Good luck with all that.
It's a lot. It's a
It is.
lot, but it needs to be done, and it needs to be done in a cooperative fashion with, and no more important person to have at the table for those discussions than the people that we protect and serve.
Councilman Bruce Kraus, before your battery runs out, we will let you go, but really good talking to you. And I definitely learned things about you that I didn't know before. So
There you are. Let's do it again, okay?
we shall.
All right, John, thank you.
Stay with us. City Talk continues, a Zoom edition in a moment.
Television, the baby of the radio family, is creating openings for experienced engineers, most of whom are graduating from radio work. For regularly scheduled programs, the production department has a multitude of duties to perform, primarily concerned with planning and preparing the programs to go on the air. From the scene of action, cameramen televise events which you may see in your own home, if, of course, you have a television receiver. Control men skillfully operate the apparatus which mixes sound effects, music, and dialogue. Many programs are broadcast over networks, and lines are employed to connect the studio with the various stations. Lines which have been set up in advance are connected to feed the program to the network stations. The maintenance of radio broadcasting equipment employs a large number of workers known as technicians. It is their job to see that the apparatus is kept in perfect working order. Television is opening up a new field, as does any new development. Specialized training, study, and hard work are necessary in all phases of broadcasting.
Welcome back to this Zoom edition of City Talk. Say hello to our next guest, who's from Parks and Recreation, Max Dennison, who, among other things, works very heavily with computers. Max, welcome to the program.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Nice to see you. So you guys in Parks and Rec are still able to do a lot of work despite the fact that a lot of stuff is shut down. Tell us your normal duties in the Recreation Department and then how you've had to sort of fix them or change them for the current atmosphere.
Yeah, so Parks does a number of things. My position specifically as a digital inclusion coordinator, what I try to do is get the kids that frequent our rec centers engaged into tech and tech adjacent activities. So we do coding, we do artificial intelligence, we do machine learning, anything with computers, the digital literacy. Since COVID, what we've had to do really to pivot, because we can't be in the same room as many students, much of our learning has become digital. So we're doing Zoom sessions like we're doing now, or Google Meets, or Microsoft Teams, and just kind of meeting the students where they are. Also, we've been working on some information packets for people who may not have access to a computer so that they can still continue to learn during COVID.
Despite the fact that I'm in the Department of Innovation and Performance and we specialize in computers, I'm not Mr. Computer. So when you tell me you're teaching young children coding, that amazes me. Are we raising another generation of Mark Zuckerbergs?
That's the hope. That's the hope. But, you know, truth be told, just like if all of us went out and played basketball, we wouldn't be Michael Jordan. Everybody who goes to work on computers won't be Mark Zuckerberg. But what I'm hoping is that we can create a generation of thinkers and learners who are adapt to the future of what's going to happen. You know, all of the jobs in the 21st century are going to be tech. It's already happening. Even the way we're having a Zoom call via cell phone, it's everywhere we turn, everywhere we go. So we just want to make sure that there's access to, that the young people have access to high level technology. And part of Rec the Tech, the initiative that I'm kind of running, is the idea that the average kid in one of our neighborhoods wouldn't just walk onto the CMU campus or walk on a Pitt campus and say, hey, I want to be a computer scientist, or I want to be a computer programmer. So what we want to do is create an atmosphere where they're comfortable with computers, and then hopefully start to bridge some of those gaps between the universities and the kids who frequent these schools that surround the universities.
I also think it's really interesting that the city and the Parks and Rec Department is taking on this mission, because you wouldn't necessarily think it would be part of the city government to do that. You would think maybe, as you say, people just learn it in school or something. So it's great. How did this program start? Do you know?
The initiative, initially, I believe it was in 2016. And basically the idea behind it is Pittsburgh becoming a huge technology hub. Many big technology companies are moving to Pittsburgh. There's a lot of jobs, a lot of opportunity. The mayor's seen the opportunity to kind of make a connect between the youth. We have over 600 kids that come through our recreation centers. We're not sure how many of those youth are engaged in computers or able to work on computers, but we wanted to kind of make that connection. So it started in about 2016. We really kind of built up over the few years and starting to really get some steam. We have some outside investments to really develop admins. So Parks kind of deals with the people in a sense. Every day we're dealing with people coming for lunches, senior buildings and things like that.
Right. And have you always, well, let me ask you this. What age range are you teaching these kids? And in this day and age, do they just automatically take it like duck to water?
So we usually start about 10 to 18. It's difficult though. Really what's happening is the school system hasn't kind of caught up to technology. Most of the classes are still social studies, science, math, which are all great and we encourage that. But you're not really going to find too many coding classes or AI classes or anything like that in schools. So this may be some kids' first time trying it. So what we try to do is engage them by building websites, things that they may be interested in. For instance, if kids are into sports, we can have them build a website with their favorite players' plays and statistics. So kind of really circle the technology around what they're interested in. That's really the easiest way to get them engaged. It's very difficult because it's just not normal yet. Even though it's happening everywhere else, it's just not something they see every day. So the difficult part is to get them to really be engaged. And we do that by kind of working backwards. What are you into? You like sports? You want to be a veterinarian? You like music? We had a kid build a fake version of a Spotify where their music streamed. Things like that make it easier to engage the students. But for so long, technology has seemed to be something that was it's like a mask. You know, people think it's impossible to code, and it's really not that difficult, honestly.
That's interesting. So tell us the Max Dennison story. Where are you from originally? Where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to school?
Originally born on the Hill District, probably about to the age 12. And my parents were able to purchase a home in the Stanton Heights area. I attended Frick International Studies Academy. I think it's something different now, SciTech, I believe, or something like that. And then I attended right up the street, Shinley High School, and attended CCAC, and then graduated from Point Park.
Awesome. And what was your degree in?
My bachelor's degree is in political science with a minor in history. Yep.
But yet you ended up in computers.
Yeah, and I it's interesting because I tell a lot of the students the same thing. In today's industry, you're going to probably pivot once, twice, maybe even 3 times. So I really think it's about gaining different skills. And when you're young and you don't have any responsibilities, it's a great time to pick up as many skills as possible. So, yeah, I started off in education. And I feel like my position now is a good mix. It's a mix between government and computers. Two of my big interests since I was very young. So I let the kids know that as well. You never know where you're going to end. You know, you may start down one direction. You may want to be a lawyer and end up, a teacher. In these days and times, it's difficult to know exactly where you're going to end up.
Fair enough. So how are you holding up during COVID? Everybody has their tales of being cooped up and, being driven stir crazy, et cetera.
It was really tough in the beginning. I've been adjusted for a few months now. But in the beginning, it was tough. It was, you're so used to meeting and seeing everyone every day, talking about what you're working on. And in our office in Parks, there's a lot of synergy. You walk past a desk, hey, what are you working on? This is what I'm working on. And when COVID really kicked in, we kind of lost that a little bit, the ability to just see everyone and check on everyone. But we're picking up. It's just tough always being feeling kind of by yourself in a sense. So it's tough working like that. But we're healthy. We're able to work. We're able to continue. We just finished the coding boot camp for the kids. So as long as we're able to continue to work, I'm pretty happy.
And you're raising a daughter amid all of this. How's that going?
Same. My daughter is very tough. She wants to get back into school. She wants to be around her friends. She wants to, it's the 8th grade. So she, she wants to be with her friends and things like that. But I tell her it's safer at home for now. And, we work pretty much side by side at the computer desk. She's working on her schoolwork and I'm working on my day-to-day work. So we're making it.
And you're managing to stay sane through all of this.
Yeah, I'm doing okay. I'm glad sports is back on. Anything that, is a symbol of normalcy, I'm really happy about. So, for a long time, it was no sports, nothing on TV, just a bunch of Netflix. And now, things seem to be getting a little better.
All right. Well, listen, Max Dennison, we won't keep you, but glad to hear you're still able to do quality work despite these difficult circumstances. And continue to stay sane, please.
Thank you for having me. It's good talking to you. You guys have a good day. Go Stillers.
Go Stillers. That is it for this edition of City Talk. We'll see you next time.